So I used to ride like, I don't know, 70-some miles on my motorcycle from my house out there by Mount Rainier down here to downtown Seattle to go on this ride that I'm going to take you on right now. I just start out here on First Avenue and then go zigzag up and back and forth up every street in downtown Seattle from First Avenue all the way up to Fifth Avenue. And like I said, I used to ride down here just to do this. Because when you're on a motorcycle, smells are amazing. And you go from food smells down here to like the smell of perfume from all the ladies up there shopping on Fifth Avenue. Right now I think there's a Mariners game going on. And there's these Repent guys over here on the corner. Got their loudspeaker bothering all these people who are just trying to go to a baseball game. Repent or else. I can't imagine what it would be like to waste your life away doing something like that. Ridiculous. Believe in a loving God or burn for all eternity in a lake of fire. Yeah, those two things just don't seem to go together in my brain. But anyway, here we are. Beautiful downtown Seattle, Washington. Used to be really beautiful. Now it's kind of gritty. A lot of homeless people. Still though, it's an amazing city. There's just so much history here. And one thing you'll notice, like we're even right here. I'll roll the window down. Listen. How quiet it is. Unlike other cities, there's nobody honking their horn. And if you do hear someone honking their horn, you automatically know that that person is either not from Seattle or they're just driving an Audi. In fact, to prove my point, one day I was walking down the sidewalk up here. I don't remember what street it was. And there was this little outdoor cafe where they had all these tables and chairs set up on the sidewalk. There was cars going by, people were eating their food. And then somebody did honk their horn. And I kind of yelled out loud, "Hey, we don't honk our horns in Seattle." And all of a sudden, all the people in that little outdoor cafe, they just all instantly started clapping. Those people didn't know each other. They had never met. They had absolutely no idea who I was. When I said, "Hey, we're from Seattle, we don't honk our horns here," or "we don't honk our horns in Seattle," all those people just started clapping. So this right here, this is where it all started. This is where Seattle started, right here in Pioneer Square. Man, the stories that I could tell about Pioneer Square. I got a lot of them. One of my favorite hangouts over there on the left, the Central Tavern. That's the oldest tavern in Seattle. It's been there for like 150 years or some damn thing. Yeah, man, I used to ride my bike down here. I'd park right there on the curb. Sit out there on the sidewalk, drink and eat. There's the old J&M Cafe right next door. It's all closed up now. Boy, that's a shocking, terrible event. But anyway, this is the actual Pioneer Square that, you know, you might have heard about, or if you're from Seattle, you know about. Man, I could tell some stories about this place. My girlfriend just died the other day, and I remember being down here at 2 o'clock in the morning, right over there on the right there in Pioneer Square. 2 o'clock in the morning. All these bars closed down at once. You got to see what it's like. Yeah, we were sitting out there talking to these crazy homeless people. I think that was our second date. Man, she had so much fun that night. We both did. But anyway, this is First Avenue right here. We're going north. As the camera wiggles around on these bumpy streets. Yeah, this was all just woods and muddy dirt roads at one time. Logging was king. This is where they put all the logs on those sailing ships. Took them to parts unknown. Or we had sawmills, of course. But anyway, I'm going to go all the way to the other end of First Avenue. Take a right, go all the way south down 2nd Avenue. Take a left, all the way up 3rd. So on until we get up to 5th Avenue. Should have started out down there on the waterfront, but it's just too much of a nightmare right now. Man, the things that we used to do down here, like 45 years ago. I had this old 57 Chevy panel truck. It had a wood stove in the back with a smokestack that came out of the roof. And that wood stove was bolted down to the floor, and we'd park it in an alley behind the Central Tavern back there. But this thing had a smokestack coming out of the roof. And then it had a bumper sticker on the back that said, "Save a salmon, smoke an Indian." And we'd be driving, me and all my oh boy, we'd be driving that thing down the road with smoke coming out of that smokestack. Save a salmon, smoke an Indian. Somebody finally drove that truck off a cliff. Oh, here it is. This is the public market. Good thing the light turned yellow. This is where all the Japanese tourists, first place they come. I'm not even going to bother unhooking the camera and panning around here so you can see all the people. I used to make such amazing videos back when I had an actual camera. But I lost all those videos. The public market's over there on the left. This is where the very first Starbucks in the world was. It was either over there on the left, where that green trim is, or I think it was over on the right. A friend of mine told me it was on the right. But the very first Starbucks in the entire world was right here at this intersection. And now today, the Starbucks headquarters is back down the road behind us. It's in this giant 15-story high. It used to be a Sears headquarters. People in Seattle are too nice. See everyone letting this guy out. It's just the way people are around here. You'll never see that in places like Pennsylvania or New York or Chicago. You sit there until your hair turns white before you get out of the parking lot. But you see, there's nobody honking their horns. I'm going to roll the window down again and listen to how quiet it is. I heard a bird chirping. Oh, there's a guy from Florida in front of us. He probably can't even believe it. That would be an amazing trip, drive all the way here from Florida. Tell you one thing, you've never seen so many Subarus in your life. Subarus and Teslas. There's like 3 kinds of cars in Seattle. Subarus, Teslas, and Toyotas. Now, if you go 50 miles behind us or anywhere around here, I mean, this is out in the country. We just happen to be in the city right here. You go out anywhere 25, 30 miles from here, everyone's driving 4-wheel drive trucks. Like I said, there's just so much history around here. You know, there is. Most cities, there's a lot of history, but Seattle kind of led the way in a lot of ways. Not like New York did, of course, but on the West Coast, it was Seattle and San Francisco. Look at that guy's leg. He could have been a seafarer pirate. Probably is. They asked me to join the Seafarer Pirates one time. I had a long black beard and long hair. And this is back when I was in my 20s. The Seafarer Pirates actually somehow found out about me. I don't know how. Probably down there at the hydroplane races. Because I'm actually the reason, me personally, I'm the reason you can't have fun at the hydro races anymore. Because of all the things that we did. We were really bad people. But we had so much more fun than anyone else. And like today, like I said, today, can't have fun at the hydro races anymore. Because of me. I mean, and that is almost literally a true story. I mean, it's a true story, but it's almost literally true. I almost basically was single-handedly responsible for all the rules they put in place today. Because there was no rules back then. This is Belltown. My mom's dad was a professional doorman. I even saw a bunch of his stuff about him on Ancestry.com. He was a professional doorman. He was the guy that opened the door at the hotel. I think the last place he worked here was called the Morrison Hotel, like that Doors album. But my dad told me that my grandfather, my mother's father, said he was a drug dealer and a pimp, which of course is why he was a doorman. He was the guy that I don't know what kind of drugs you could probably get back in the 30s. But I asked my dad, well, how do you know that? And he said, because he told me. Yeah, Claude Clontz was his name. I think I only met him once or twice, but I remember him lighting his cigarette. He had a chrome-plated hand grenade cigarette lighter. It was really heavy. And his apartment was like, he lived in this big, giant apartment in the hotel where he was the doorman. And this apartment was so big it had a front and a back door. And he was the coolest cat, man. And I remember this one photograph of him sitting in his recliner. I think he had that hand grenade cigarette lighter in his hand, but he had a dog sitting on his lap. And I don't know what happened to that picture, but it says no right turn. Too bad. But today, I'm 68 years old, and I look exactly like him in that picture. We're like clones of each other. I look exactly like he did in that picture. Remember what I said about all the rules that we broke? Well, it says no right turn, and we're doing it anyway. That guy in the Subaru, see, he didn't even honk at me. I pulled right in front of him. He didn't honk. Oh my God, is that 2nd Avenue? Yeah, I got glasses now, but I still can't see. It's Sue Bird Street. I used to know a woman named Sue Bird. I quit at the post office because I couldn't stand working with her. Oh, it is 2nd Avenue. Watch me turn in front of this bus and see if he honks. We'll just go up here to 3rd and take a turn. This is 3rd Avenue right here. Hope it's not one way. Let's find out. Oh, there's a green light. So we're going to go down 2nd Avenue now. See, there's beautiful sound out there. That's Alki Beach over there on the other side. Another place where oh my God, we had too much fun over there back in the 80s. It used to just be an open air party in the sun during the summer, a cruising place where people would go down there in their cars and just raise absolute holy hell. Today, I mean, you're lucky if you can even drive down that road. The cops have it all clamped down. But back in the old days, it was an absolute free-for-all. No turn on red. Okay, well, how about can I turn when it turns green? Let's go. I'm going to turn right in front of that car and see if he looks at me. Nope. Today, people think they're horning their cars like some kind of weapon. They honk it at you after you did whatever you did. The horn is a way of saying F you now. It's not like people don't use their horn, Well, this is a funny story. So a while back, I was at some store, giant parking lot. There were stores everywhere. And as I was putting my stuff in the car, there was some horn off in the distance, some person just holding the horn button down. Just honking the horn, just holding the button down. And there was some guy next to me putting beer in his car. And I said, "You hear that horn?" "Yeah." And I said to him, I don't think I've ever honked the horn in my car, ever, even once in my entire life. And you know what he said? "I don't even know if the horn in this car works." So that's like anytime I see a man honking his horn, if I get a chance, I'll just pull up right alongside of him and say, "What, are you some kind of little girl or something? What the hell is wrong with you?" I think I did that earlier this morning. So anyway, this is 2nd Avenue. Not really much to see. I mean, there's so much to see. And I mean so much if you get out of the car and walk. But, of course, I can't do that. I'm wearing steel-toed boots. I can barely move. And I got a dog with me. So I'm reduced to driving in the car now. I haven't rode a motorcycle in 7 years. It's okay, lady. It's worth it. My entire life revolved around motorcycles ever since I was about 8 years old. It's the only thing I've done. But I got another dog. And it's my responsibility to take care of her. I just went on an 11,000-mile road trip last summer. This dog's actually been to Cabo San Lucas in a car. Yeah, 2 or 3 summers ago. Drove all the way there and back with my dog. And then this last summer, we went on an 11,000-mile road trip together. I just figure, I've defied death in my life. Anyone who knows me would tell you this. So many times. I lost count a long time ago. But, having this dog for the last 7 years, that probably... Oh, there's the Moore Hotel. Maybe that's the one my grandfather worked at. I used to be able to tell because the old jail was across the street. But they tore the jail down. So I don't have that landmark anymore. But anyway, I figure in the last 7 years I've had this dog, it probably kept me from getting killed on a motorcycle. Or at least that's the way I rationalize it all. But let's see, she was 3 years old when I got her. Had her for 7 years now. So she's 10 and a half years old, something like that. You're probably going to last a few more years, aren't you? You want a dog bone? You want a dog bone? You got to say, uh-huh. You want a dog bone? Do you want a dog bone? Guess she doesn't want one. I've given her too many already. 2nd and Pine Street. I mean, I'm sure to people who, aren't from Seattle, it kind of looks like a ghetto. But it's not like a ghetto like Chicago. It's heartbreaking. I mean, the city is going through tough times right now. Not monetarily, but one day, and for years, all my life, I was like, why is everyone from Ohio moved to Seattle? Because I started noticing this when I was a teenager. I think it's because of Boeing or something. But a while back, I don't know, it was 10 years ago. It was way longer than that. I met 5 people from Ohio in one day, including the very last guy at this gas station here in downtown Seattle. He was pumping my gas, and he told me he came here from Ohio. What's happened here now is there's just so much opportunity and so many jobs. Back in the old days, if you lived in somewhere like Alabama or Mississippi, well, that's just where you stayed for your whole life. But today, with the advent of the internet, it's just easy for people to get information or find out things. And I'll tell you one thing. If I lived in some place like Mississippi or Alabama, I know where I'd be going. Go west, young man. Probably not to Los Angeles, because that place, I just got back from there. It's a frickin' hellhole. Central California, out on the coast, is absolute paradise beyond imagination. I spent a whole month there this last summer. It's like something that you couldn't even begin to imagine. It's peaceful and calm and quiet, and the weather is just absolutely perfect. Yes, this was like 72 degrees. And one day I was in Las Vegas, and I drove all the way. I'd already been on the California coast for about a month. Then I went over to Las Vegas. Stayed there for, I don't know how long, came back over to California. I drove over to California coast from Las Vegas in one day. And on the same day, over in Las Vegas, it was absolutely unbearably hot. Terrible. But over on the California coast, it was 72 degrees. And I asked this lady at the store, I said, so what's it like here in the wintertime? She goes, same as it is right now. Yeah, it just stays that way all year long. There's the Smith Tower right there. You probably can't see it because I'm not moving the camera, but it's that white building there on the left out front. That used to be the tallest building on the West Coast. Has an opium den. That's what it was described as back when the building was built, at the very top, on the top floor. See how nice and quiet it is here? I'm going to roll the window down again. See how quiet it is. Of course, it's a Sunday morning. But I mean, you haven't heard one horn honk. It's just calm and peaceful, and the air is just clean and beautiful. Now, let's see if I can remember what I'm doing here. I think I'll go down a little farther and then turn left and go down 3rd Avenue the other direction. This is the really old part of Seattle right here. I think the term Skid Road was coined here in Seattle because these hills on the left, these streets that come down steep, that's where they skidded the logs down to the waterfront. It was all muddy, dirt roads. And that's where the term Skid Road came from. It's a logging term. Yeah, let's go. Oh, it says no left turn. Well, we could have done it anyway. Yeah, it's not a one-way street. Go up here and do it. See if we can make a left U-turn. Oh, there's King Street Station. That's the old train station that when you came to Seattle back in the old days, that's where you got off, right there in that brick building. No turn on red. Well, it's a good thing it's green. And it's one way the right way. Up 3rd Avenue. Yeah, I used to drive down here, like I said, from Mount Rainier on my motorcycle. Just to do what we're doing right now. And then I would go up to Capitol Hill, to Dick's Drive-In. We'll go up there when I get done here. It's funny because Capitol Hill is like the gay part of town. And right on the main street, there's this restaurant, this hamburger place got a giant sign out front that says Dick's. It's a true story. And I don't care if you don't like it. Because I'm me and you're you. And for you, if you don't like my sense of humor, well, that's very unfortunate. Being you. Because, like this t-shirt that my recently deceased girlfriend had made for me, it says, if it's not disgusting, it's not funny. And that's exactly the way I feel about it. If you can't swear when you're telling a joke, or if you're a comedian and you're not allowed to swear, you're not funny. And that's not necessarily absolutely true either, because, oh Jesus, God damn it. See, I'm doing it right now. We accidentally got on 4th Avenue. I don't like that. We're going down to 3rd Avenue. One of these streets is one way the wrong way, if I remember right. Yeah, it's this one right here. See, it's one way that way. Something like that. But see, now we're on 3rd Avenue. Amazing how deserted the streets are for a town that has millions of people living in it. Well, like I said, it's Sunday. What time is it? Oh, it's 12:22. People are probably, I don't know if they're still in church, because I don't know anything about church. Tell you one thing though, there is no question, compared to some cities, this place is a paradise. Still haven't heard a horn honk. Oh, it says do not enter. I can't go that way. Can I? Oh, I don't give a shit anyway. Buses only. Too bad. It's Sunday. I can do whatever the hell I want to do. Nobody's yelling at me yet. Looks like a street to me. Buses only. No cops either. We don't care anyway. We simply and literally do not care. We don't care. Even the buses aren't honking at me. By the way, there's a couple cars right there. You know, when you get to be old, there's quite a few things you can get away with just because you're old. Like, I don't remember. I didn't know. Nobody told me. I used to go out with this girl. That was her favorite thing. Nobody told me. Uh-oh. Can you go around the corner because I'm here? Oh, there's a car behind me. Yeah, old Diane, nobody told me. One day I walked into the kitchen. She was going to cook some potatoes. And she had these whole peeled potatoes. I think she was going to make mashed potatoes. And she had these whole potatoes in a bucket of water that she was trying to boil them up. And I think I said to her, well, you know, they'll cook a lot quicker if you cut them up first. And she said, well, nobody told me. She was a cool person, though. She really was. What the hell street are we on? 3rd Avenue. What do you know? Oh, yeah, I smell food, lady. Smell that? There's a guy there trying to go across the crosswalk, but he couldn't walk because his pants were down around his knees. And he was walking like a crab. Couldn't pull him up because he had coffee in one hand and some kind of bag in the other hand, and here he was trying to go across the crosswalk. While also trying to keep his pants from falling all the way down to his ankles. Where should we turn, lady? Should we go one more block and turn right? What do you think? Okay. That's another thing about people in Seattle. They're always smiling. See comments on YouTube or just on the internet in general, where people from Europe are saying things like, people in America are so weird. They're always happy and smiling. And sure enough, you go into a convenience store that's operated by, people from Pakistan or something. They never smile. I even tell them, look, man, when I come into this store, you smile. And I'm not kidding. I used to tell people the same thing. When I walk into the room, you smile. And you know why? Because that's what I do when you walk into the room. So yeah, people from Seattle are always smiling. Doesn't mean they're happy, but you know, they just smile anyway. Look, there's some people right there. See them smiling? Look at them. That's the gas station right there, where the guy told me he was from Ohio too. There's another guy smiling. Yeah, that gas station right there, that's the one where I met the 5th person from Ohio in one day. Better pay attention. Here's 4th Ave. Oh, see? It's one way. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, lady. We'll go down 5th Avenue. Then we'll come back up 4th Avenue. 5th Avenue is where, or at least it used to be, place where all the fancy stores are. There's the monorail tracks right there on top, or up above. That was from the Seattle World's Fair back in 1962. They're finally, I mean, it's just local, it doesn't really go anywhere. It's this cool train that straddles that hunk of concrete. But if you go down south by SeaTac Airport there, they finally have made, it's not a monorail, but it's an elevated train. And they finally, it's become mainstream now. It goes from miles and miles and miles. Look, and even that lady who can barely walk had a big smile on her face. Yeah, this is a cool street because you can go the same direction on either side of this elevated train. On a motorcycle, you can weave in and out of these posts. Not that, you know, I would do that. Man, all these tall apartment buildings. They never used to be here. I would absolutely love to live in the city if I had a lot of money. I always wanted to live up there on one of those giant apartments looking out over the Puget Sound. When I was a kid, so I'm going to have a fancy car to drive in the garage, go upstairs to my apartment, put on my grubby old clothes, and drive back out in a broken down pickup truck. And live 2 lives at once. It's actually one of the reasons I got a divorce. My wife hated the city. You know, and I don't fault her for that. But I'm not as in love with it as it might seem at this minute. But I do like it. I love the idea of living in the city. But I'd have to pay someone to take you for a walk all the time, lady. So I'd be staying up there in my cloud. There's the monorail right there. Oh, you see that? Somebody did honk their horn, but they tapped it ever so lightly. You could barely hear it. It's a guy in a $100,000 Cadillac behind me. Probably cost more than that. He went, tick. He just barely touched it. Vegetarians taste better. That's what it says on the bumper sticker, lady. That was funny. That guy just barely went tick with the horn. It's a thing here. People do not honk their horns. I couldn't count how many times just in the last week. Person in front of me is just sitting there texting away. The light's been green for 15 seconds. Someone did it to me yesterday. I didn't go on time. They just sat back there and waited. See all the art on these pilings? The That's pretty cool. Of course, there's a lot of cities like that with art everywhere. At the end, like on the sway bar on this thing worn out, you can hear it down there going clank, 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 clank. But I'm driving a Toyota. Don't tell anyone. It's got 260,000 miles on it. Man, was that a statuesque woman or was that a man? I think it was a woman. There she is right there. Oh, I can't tell if it was a man or a woman. Had boots on though. There's the Chanel store. See, that guy walked right in front of everybody. Nobody honked. Yeah, this is the shopping area of Seattle. The Westin Hotel back there. It's a round hotel. The building is round. Probably cost you at least $500 a night to stay there. Oh, there's that Cadillac. Thanks for not honking at me. Yeah, the Fifth Avenue Theater back there. My grandma took me there to see The Sound of Music when I was a kid. We saw the movie 7 different times. Yeah. That place is like some kind of palace from another century inside. It's just beyond imagination. Oh, it's all carved wood and red velvet. What are you doing? No, I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to myself. Have you been eating out of the cat box again? I mean, we don't have a cat box, but that's what it smells like. All these people taking pictures of themselves. Look at these people. They're all smiling. Oh my goodness, lady, what did you eat? She's looking at me like, don't say that about me. When I was rich, me and my old girlfriend CJ, we would just come down here and do nothing but go shopping and go out to eat. She was such an amazing person. I miss her so much. I always used to tell her she was my equal in both of our lives. I mean, both of our lives individually was the kind of thing that movies are made of. Both of us. She took off with the carnival when she was 13 years old. She never came back. The stories, the things that woman did. She traveled everywhere. She was an amazing human being. And I was the same way. I lived 3 entire lifetimes at least. I can't believe I'm never going to be able to talk to her again. I did find this amazing video though that I made of her. We were eating dinner one night. When she realized I was making a video, she said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You're making a video, aren't you?" And I said right there in the video, "Well, how else am I going to have something to remember you by? And gosh darn it, now I have that video to remember her by." And in that video, she is the true essence of herself. It's so amazing. She was outright dangerous, but she was also so sweet. Those guys have an open fire in front of their tent, right on the sidewalk. The cop just rolled up there on his bicycle and asked him what the hell they were doing. The guy had an open fire on the sidewalk in front of his tent. Probably had to cook up some crack or something. God, people, man. Well, lady, here we are on 4th Avenue now. After this, I think we'll go up on Queen Anne Hill, where I lived with my grandma when I was a little kid. Yeah, we lived right by the Seattle World's Fair, so I also got to go to the World's Fair just who knows how many times, probably every weekend when I was a little boy. My grandma was a cool person too, man. Found her dead on the bathroom floor at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was about 8 years old. Yeah. Woke up in the middle of the night. She wasn't in bed. Found her in the bathroom, laying on the floor. She was completely naked. I always ask people, "You ever see your grandma naked?" Well, I did. Yeah, and she was dead too. I shouldn't tell that story, but hey, Testarossa, Ferrari. That's the other thing about California. Oh my God, you get to see all the beautiful women down there. Out there on the coast. All these old hippie chicks. Long hair. And this is absolutely 110%, absolutely, completely, and totally true. I was out there on the beach in San Simeon, California. That's where the Hearst Castle is. And here was this beautiful old hippie chick. I don't know if she was walking her dog, but I somehow struck up a conversation with this woman. She was like 70 years old, at least. I don't remember how old she was, but she was a beautiful old hippie chick. And like I said, this is absolutely true. My whole entire life has been like this. How this could have happened to me, I do not know, but it did. She somehow mentioned the fact that she was from Aspen, Colorado. And when she told me she was from Aspen, Colorado, I asked her if she had ever met Hunter Thompson. And she said, yeah, I was his waitress. And I said, what? You can't be serious. Yes, I was Hunter Thompson's waitress. There's this documentary about Hunter Thompson. It's called Buy the Ticket, Take the Ride. And people who knew him are being interviewed. And they said that he would go to this restaurant in Aspen, Colorado and order everything on the menu. He would order like 5 beers at once and a couple mixed drinks and all, and then he would take stuff home. And sure enough, this woman told me that not only was she Hunter Thompson's waitress, every day when he came in there, she would have to go out there and get all their dishes and glasses back out of his car. I'm not kidding. It's absolutely true. Oh, I wish I could have interviewed this woman on video. I met Hunter Thompson's personal waitress by accident one day. My whole life has been like that. I always tell people, you can't believe the kind of things that can happen to you just by opening your mouth. And like I keep saying, my entire life has been like that. I literally met Hunter Thompson's waitress just by opening my mouth. And for those of you who don't know who Hunter Thompson is, like they say, do your research, and you'll find out how monumentally huge a story that is. She was probably just as shocked as I was that I asked her if she knew him. Yeah, one time Hunter Thompson was one of the most famous people in the world. He was like, I always tell people, I think Hunter Thompson fucked my mother. Because we seem to have the exact same personality. I mean, when I met my real sperm donor dad when I was about 40, I just didn't get the feeling he was really my dad. Men liked her, though. I met this guy when I was, it's a long story. This old guy that I had dealings with. I bought motorcycles from him when I was about 25 years old. He lived in our neighborhood when I was a little kid. Not up here on Queen Anne Hill, but oh man, he told me all kinds of stories about my mom. He obviously had a crush on her. I don't even remember talking to her or having a conversation with her. But we lived together for a while too. So that's what I mean when I say I think Hunter Thompson fucked my mom. I don't know. I got to pay attention to where we are. Hey, there's the Space Needle. Normally, when I had more energy and I'm completely worn out today, I would take the camera off that holder and point out things, but I don't care. So when I was in my 20s, I was an iron worker. And I actually worked for the company that built that steel you're looking at right there. Or no, the company next door manufactured the steel. The company I worked for erected the Space Needle. Put it together. When you go over there and look at the Space Needle, the welds, I'm gonna go this way. The welds, man, on that thing are like 2 or 3 inches wide. One layer after another. Old stick welding. Well, I think I'll just drive around now and stop talking. That's probably going to be impossible, of course, but I'll try. I smell curry. Those guys are from Pakistan or Yemen or something. They like Seattle too. Yeah, we still haven't heard anyone honking their horns. Except for that one tiniest of tiny little beeps. Only seen one cop too, that's pretty amazing. Don't see any crime. Except for that guy with a fire on the sidewalk. Just happy people hanging around in a peaceful city. They made up this little saying the other day. You know, Donald Trump's sending those people to El Salvador. And it's like this. Fuck sending people to El Salvador, just send them to Detroit. Be worse, way worse. See this girl with the crosswalk with the headphones? That's the latest thing. Americans will follow any fad that comes along. And I guess the latest fad is headphones. Because everywhere you look now, everybody's wearing headphones. Let's go over to Denny Avenue and go up on Queen Anne Hill. I have an amazing story to tell about Queen Anne Hill. It was like something right out of a movie. Little girlie, you better be careful. Where's your mommy? Jeez, Dad. Oh my goodness. Oh God. I'm so glad I didn't have kids. I would have been... That little girl just ran across the crosswalk. You know, this is another absolutely true story. And I mean, it is absolutely, completely and totally... Uh-oh, someone honked their horn. Oh, that was an alarm. You hit the button. Yeah, I mean, this is an absolutely true story. I always wanted to make movies in my life, and I always wanted to get this scene into the movie, but it's absolutely true. When I was a kid, I was about, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10 years old. I saw 2 kids get run over and killed by a car in one summer. The first one, I actually saw it happen. My brother was walking across the street with the kid. The car missed him but killed the other kid. It was this horrific event at the Fontainebleau Apartments where I lived with my mom. The kid's teenage sister was supposed to be watching him while the mom was at work. But she was behind the apartments at the high school playing tennis with her boyfriend. And you should have seen. I was up on the second floor watching the whole thing. And when the mom came home from work, just wailing. Yeah, her little boy just got killed by a car. So we moved from those apartments to this house, rental house. And God, man, it happened again. And this was like, if you saw this in a movie, I could still hear this woman's feet. I was sitting out in the yard in the grass under an apple tree. And I heard this woman. She was a hippie chick. This was back in the 60s. She was wearing these cut-off Levi shorts. They were all frayed at the bottom. She had long brown hair. She was barefoot. And all of a sudden I heard her screaming my mother's name. And I heard her feet just stomping across the ground. She was running as fast as she could, screaming my mother's name. She ran right by me and went in the house, I guess, to get me home. And I got up and I walked out. The front yard of this house was about 10 feet above the road. And I walked out to the edge of the yard and looked down in the street. There was her son, Kurt. He was about my same age. He was laying out. It was a hot summer day in the middle of summer. And there he was, laying in the middle of the road in a pool of blood, huge pool of blood, as big as his body. It seemed to be like a half-inch thick. Oh, Queen Anne, the road's closed. Yeah, and one of his legs was bent backwards. His ankle and his foot was above his head. His leg was completely broken backwards and over the top of his head. And he was laying there in the road in this gigantic pool of blood. Both of those things happened in the same summer. It's like my dad said to me one time, my adopted dad. He said, this was about 15 years ago. He said, yeah, you saw a lot of things that you shouldn't have seen when you were a kid. Like finding my grandma in the bathroom. So yeah, when that guy back there just let his little girl run across the crosswalk. Oh, God. Yeah, when I was a little kid and I lived with my grandma here, she had this little, it was a wire basket type cart that you could fold up and put away. This is back in this early, like 1965, 4. Had these little wheels on it and you could tow it behind you. And we would go shopping. She lived up at the top of this hill where I'm turning right here. The World's Fair is right over there across the street. We would walk up and down this hill. And so you see that radio tower right there. It's actually a television transmission tower. We lived about 15 miles from here, over by the airport. And whenever my dad would bring me over here to drop me off at my grandma's house, you could see those towers far, far away. And I always knew, it's an amazing story. I had a connection to broadcast television when I was a little tiny kid that other kids my age knew nothing about. And this is back when television was black and white. There was only 3 channels on TV. And every night at midnight they played the Star Spangled Banner and television went off. And then 8 hours later, like I told someone the other day, we'd be standing at attention in our classrooms with our hand on our heart, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Be the Star Spangled Banner at midnight and the Pledge of Allegiance at 8 o'clock in the morning. But this tower right here, there used to be 3 or 4 of them. They're for a television station that used to be up here. They moved it since then. But it was right, my grandma's apartment was right down the street from this television station. And whenever I was sitting in front of the television at home at my dad's house, the guy would be, there was this thing that came on at 6 o'clock in the morning called the Farm Report. And it was just a static black and white picture of a weather vane with a rooster on top. It was called the Farm Report. And what it was this guy telling the local news or whatever. You couldn't see the guy. It was just a static black and white picture of a barn with a weather vane on top. But I'd be sitting there, and I knew where that guy was that was saying it. He was right there in that brick building on the right. That used to be Cairo Television, Channel 7. And when I was listening to that, I was picturing the guy inside this building sitting in front of a microphone. So, none of the other kids in my neighborhood knew all that stuff. Yeah, but I shouldn't have turned. This is what's known as Queen Anne Hill. Look at all the Subarus. One on the left, one on the right. There's another one on the left. Oh, there's one sitting right next to me here, a white one. Subarus, Toyotas, and Teslas. There's another Subaru. There's another Tesla. Subaru. Do you know that Subaru is the preferred car of lesbians? It's a status symbol. It's an absolutely true, provable story. If I had time, I'd tell the story. There's actually a reason why lesbians drive Subarus. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's a true story. So anyway, we'll go back up here to the main street. On Queen Anne Hill. Then I'll go down there to where my grandma's apartment was and tell another story. Yeah, this is a nice city, man. Okay, guys, I'm going. It's my turn. I don't have to worry about anyone honking. Everywhere you look, it's just Toyotas and Teslas and Subarus. Now, back in the 60s, it wasn't like this at all. There was almost no cars. I made another video this morning. See the wires up there above? Those are electric. Those are the wires where the electric buses used to hook onto. This is way back in the 50s, in the 40s. Seattle had electric buses. They didn't have any internal combustion engine of any kind. They ran off those wires up there. And sometimes the bus would go around the corner and the pole would come unhooked from the wire, and the bus driver would have to climb up on the roof, put the pole back on. There were these spring-loaded poles that held themselves against the wire. I'm sure other cities have them too. But today, all those buses have been decommissioned for decades, but the wires are still up there. I guarantee there's people out in the Midwest that would do or give just about anything to live in a place like this. See how peaceful and calm everyone is? Go down to Los Angeles and see what it's like. This kind of I'm sure would remind, except for the horn honking thing, remind some people of New York. It's just a beautiful city. So many beautiful people. But man, you better be rich if you plan on moving here. That never used to be a thing either. But after everyone did move here, if you put your house up for sale here in Seattle, it will be sold by the time you wake up the next morning. That's an absolute fact. You can sell your house in one day. These are all $1 million houses, even though they look like, These are all $1 million. Every single one of these houses is worth $1 million. 800,000. I mean, I'm generalizing. I can show you ads for houses that, other than having 30 different coats of paint, houses that were built back in the 1940s, houses that cost $50 originally, are $800,000 today. Every one of these is $1 million house. Let's just go one block off the main street here. Look at these houses. These ones all have views of Lake Union. Oh yeah, man, if you were smart enough to buy a house around here back in the 1970s, you're either very rich today or very broke because you can't afford the property taxes. But like I said, way back in the old days, there wasn't even a car. There was no cars parked on the street. Today, all these streets resemble hobbit trails. You know, because when these houses were built, you see there's not even any driveways. Most of these houses were built, there was no such thing as cars yet. I mean, there might have been, but not everyone owned a car. Boy, you are not going to make that parking spot. There goes your wheel. There, you turn it a little bit more. There you go. You can do it. It's actually really easy. There you go. Start turning it the other way. Turn. 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 Atta boy, you did it perfect that time. Good for you. Perfect! He didn't even hit the wheel. I gave him a thumbs up, and the guy was 80 years old. Him and his wife got the biggest smile on their face. Yeah, he didn't even hit his wheel on the curb. A car like that wheel's worth $1,000. Look at these houses. So anyway, lady, we'll go back down the main street here on Queen Anne Hill, Queen Anne Avenue North, and then we'll go down. The hell's the name of that street? There's some nice other people from Pakistan. Oh, that lady heard me say that. She looked over at me. See, that guy's waiting for me all this time. He could have went. Yeah, I used to be able to remember the name of that street that my grandma lived on, but I've been recently diagnosed with what they call white matter disease. I got all kind of scar tissue on my brain from, it's from unregulated, never regulated high blood pressure. Sorry, guy, I just went in front of you. Yeah, I got super high blood pressure that I never took my medicine, and that destroyed my brain and a bunch of other things in my body. So my memory's shot. What's the name of that street? I know I can remember if I think long enough. You know how quiet it is, and I roll the windows back down. This would be a cool neighborhood to live in, man. I mean, you can't tell because you're looking through the camera, but if you look around from where I'm sitting, everything imaginable under the sun is available right here. We went by a Safeway store that didn't even look like a grocery store, but it was. There's a Starbucks. This is a nice place to live, man. Yeah, if I was younger and had a chance to do it all over again, had money like I used to have, I shouldn't have just stayed right here my whole life. This is actually where I grew up, right here. Part of the time I grew up. Until I was about 8 years old, when my grandma died. You can go, Mr. Subaru. Oh boy. Yeah, that tower. Back when television was free, back when it came through the air on to an antenna on your roof, back when there was only like 2 commercials an hour. This is true. I mean, you think if you paid $150 a month for TV, cable TV, that there wouldn't be any commercials. If you go home tonight, or when you're sitting in front of the TV tonight, you count yourself. It's hard to believe, but I'm telling the truth because I've done it. There is over 100 commercials an hour. I know that sounds impossible, but it's not, because a lot of the commercials are 3 seconds long or 5 seconds. Today, there are over 100 commercials an hour. My television, somehow the dog, somebody had a flat screen TV, someone knocked it off the table. It was in the corner. It fell backwards over there behind the table or whatever the hell it's sitting on. And I left it there. I never picked it up again. I haven't watched television. I haven't watched television in 10 years. There it is right there, Gaylor Street. I knew that. Yeah, I haven't watched television in at least 10 years. Or we'll say at least 8 years. And more than likely 10 years. Yeah, like I said, my TV fell off the table. And I just left it there. I never even picked it back up. Because I didn't care. So this is it right here, man. I'm going to pull over for this story. This was so cool, man. You can't see it, but it's over here on the left. Maybe you can see it. This brown building right here. My grandma lived there. It was a little tiny... It was this one-story wooden building that was probably built in the 1920s. It was as long as that building is right there. And what is that? That's 150 feet. Maybe 200 feet. 150 feet. And it had a hallway down the center with a wooden floor. It was hollow underneath. You could hear, when you walk, bang. Anyway, there was doors on each side. These little apartments. And my grandma lived in the one right there. The window faced out on the sidewalk exactly like that apartment does. And her prized possession was this black and white TV that she had. And this big old green glass screen. I actually still have her payment book for that TV. It was her prized possession in the world. And at one time I had the television. My fucking stepmother sold it in a goddamn yard sale. But it was so amazing, man. So you can see the electric wire up there. And you could hear the buses when they went down the road. They would make this click, click, click sound as those poles went across the connections for the wires. And we'd be in that little apartment right there. It was just a little studio apartment. And it had a hallway that went to the bathroom. And then there was this, she had all her clothes hanging on the left. And then there was a little kitchen area. And every night, and she had this fold-out couch that turned into a bed. I still have a picture of the inside of this apartment. And she'd turn off the lights. And when you turned off that TV, the picture turned off, but it took a long time for the TV. The TV screen was actually a giant tube, they call them vacuum tubes. Back in the old days, there used to be a machine at the grocery store where you could take the tubes from your TV and you could go in there and test when your TV started going on the blink or whatever you call it. My dad would take the tubes from the TV down there to test them on that machine. Well, anyway, the biggest tube of all was the screen. It was a giant vacuum tube. And when you turned off the TV, the picture collapsed towards the center and eventually became this little tiny dot of white light. So when she turned off the TV at night, I would sit there and watch the TV screen until it turned into that little white dot. And then eventually that dot would go away. And you could hear the buses going by. And then we would go to sleep. And so that girl I told you about, her name was Nobody Told Me, Diane. Diane, Nobody Told Me. Well, one day I told her the story I'm telling you right now. And so we got in my Volkswagen bus. I had my Huarache sandals on. And I wanted to take her up here and show her the apartment that I was talking about. And we came around the corner up there behind us. And we were coming down this road right here. And right as we got right there on the left at the intersection, well, I saw it as we came down the road behind us. But there was nobody here. It was all deserted. And as we went through right by this intersection right there, I can still picture it in my mind. There was this excavator machine. You know, a big giant like backhoe type thing with tracks on it. And they were loading that apartment building into dumpsters. If I would have came the day before that, the building still would have been there. They were just taking the first bite out of it right when we came down. My whole life has been like this, man. If I would have came here 2 hours earlier, it still would have been there. They were literally just taking the first chomp out of the building and we're tearing it down to put that 3-story apartment that's there now. But this building on the right over here, that used to be the local telephone company. And that parking lot up there on the right, where those cars are parked, that was an old gas station, like the one across the street over there. But there was this guy there. I suspect it was my grandma's boyfriend. I think his name was Bill. Because I remember one time we got stranded in downtown Seattle, and she called him on the phone. And he came and got us. They somehow knew each other. And he had this business called Seattle Auto Beauty. It's an amazing brand name. I actually registered that domain name to myself here about 5 years ago. I still have it, Seattle Auto Beauty. I thought it'd be good for like a whole wide range of businesses. But anyway, he had this Dalmatian. Anyway, he had a detailing business there. This is way back when you went to go get your car detailed, they would paint the engine and everything. He had every color of Krylon spray paint known to man. And I would be over here in my grandma's apartment putting my model cars together. Oh, his name was Jim. And he would give me whatever color of spray paint I wanted. So anyway, this is an amazing story. Me and my grandma would walk up that sidewalk there on the left with that little roll-around basket that she had, that fold-up cart thing. It was her grocery cart. And I would tow it up that sidewalk behind her, and way up there on the left by where that Amazon truck is, farther up though, there was a little tiny grocery store where she would go buy her stuff. And so that was my life when I was a little kid. I lived right here. And my grandma was a telephone operator for, I don't know, it was Bank of America. There used to be a picture of her. It was from a newspaper, Seattle Times. They'd taken a picture of the switchboard operators. And there was my grandma right in the front. She had headphone on, and that's back when they plugged the phone lines in to connect you to whoever it was you wanted to talk to. And this is where I lived right here. Well, many years went by, and here I was driving a Volkswagen again. Or, this is when I was about 17, 18. I had a Volkswagen Bug. And I picked this guy up who was hitchhiking over there in Ballard, this hippie dude. And I picked him up, and he got in my Volkswagen, and the first thing he said is, "Smells like hash in here." And so anyway, when I took him to where he was going, it's right, it was that old grocery store. It was right up here. It was in one of these buildings. Oh, it's right up there. I see it. Only it wasn't a grocery store anymore. It was some sort of like hippie commune type place. There was a whole bunch of old hippies in there. It was in this building right there on the left. Superb Custom Tailors. Yeah, it was right here in this building. It was right there. Right there, that second door. So that's another thing. My whole life has always been like that. The place that he needed to go was that old grocery store where I used to go with my grandma all the time when I was a little kid. And the next thing I know, I was in there with all these hippies. They were older than me, I don't remember what we did. I probably just laughed, but yeah, this is the neighborhood I grew up in. Now here's another funny story. So this is Queen Anne High School up here on the left. Well, like I said, I didn't meet my sperm donor dad till when I was 40, but I never thought it was really him. And my mom went to Queen Anne High School right here. Wait till you hear this story. So at some point I worked for the Marine Maintenance Division of the Port of Seattle. And there was this locally famous, we were what's called pile drivers. We built bridges and docks. And so somehow through that trade, I ended up working for the Port of Seattle, fixing all the docks down there on the waterfront. And there was this guy named Earl Johnson. And he was a famous dude around here. Well, Earl Johnson went to Queen Anne High School, the same high school my mother went to. And you know what? I got a picture of Earl. I got a big old bushy mustache. You can't see it right now, but so did Earl. We were like identical twins, me and this Earl guy. One day, we were out there in a little work boat out there in Puget Sound, out in the waterfront in front of Seattle. And we were towing logs around and doing our thing, and I said to Earl was, he was about 50, and I was about 30. And I said, we just became the best of friends. We just were the best of friends. Especially after I found his wife's dogs. This is another story I'll tell you in a second. This is amazing. So anyway, me and Earl were out there in the workboat one day towing logs around. And I took this picture of Earl, and I said to Earl, when I get old, I'm going to look just like you. And you know what he said? He said, well, you're going to be one good-looking son of a bitch. And we were absolute identical twins. And the reason I said that is, like I said about Hunter Thompson, I don't know, man. Something makes me think Earl screwed my mom, too. I swear to God, we were identical twins, but he was 20 years older than me. Well, you're going to be one good-looking son of a bitch. Well, wait till you hear this story. So Earl lived right here still in this area. And I lived way out by Mount Rainier. I would drive all the way down here from out by Mount Rainier every day just to go to work. And one day, Earl came to work. And he was all bummed out. He said, what's wrong? This guy was a really heavy drinker, man. He'd come to work smelling like booze. And he could never operate a chainsaw unless he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. Yeah, so that's the little grocery store thing right there where me and my grandma used to go shopping all the time. So anyway, Earl came to work one day and he was all bummed out. And I said, man, what's wrong? Oh, the telephone guy left the gate open yesterday and my wife's dogs got out. She's all upset, man. She can't find her dogs. And so we just went on about our work that day. And the end of the day, Earl was so funny. At the end of the day, every day, I'm going to go around the block and show you that building. I didn't say anything about it when we went by. Every day at the end of the job, at the end of work, on this particular job anyway, we were completely rebuilding this dock. And we had a job shack there. And everybody else had already gone home. We were sitting in that job shack one day, and Earl only lived about 15 minutes away. And I noticed that he would never go home at the end of the day. He would just sit in that job shack. And one day I asked him about why he does that. He said, well, you know, Brad, I don't like to be the first one to get home. I suspect because there was probably dishes or something that needed to be done. Yeah, I don't like to get home first. So we'd sit in there and have a cup of coffee at the end of the day. And that particular day, though, he said, oh, I got to go and see if my, because this is back before cell phones and stuff, you know. I got to go and see if my wife found those dogs. And this is just an unbelievable story. It's one of the ways that we just became the best of friends. And it's like I keep saying, my whole life has been like this. It's totally unexplainable. So back when my grandma lived in that building on the corner, that brick building right there on the right was there. And it's still there from way back when. And she lived in this little tiny old one-story rickety wooden building that used to be right there where that gray building is. You walked right in the front door off of this sidewalk. And you could walk all the way to the back and go out a door on the back. And there was only like 6 or 7 apartments in there. So anyway, on the way that day, Earl said, I got to go home and see if my wife found those dogs. And I got in my car and went home. It took me, it took me like 2 hours to get home every day because of traffic. Well, that particular day, for some reason that I have no idea why, well, there was this little store where I would stop off and buy a beer every day to drink on the way home. And that day, unlike any other day before that, for some reason, I picked up a Seattle Times newspaper in that store. And when I got home to my house, I was sitting there reading the Seattle Times newspaper. And when I got to the classified section, I looked in the lost and found, and there it was. It was Earl's wife's dog, because he told me they were huskies. And it was in Ballard where they were found. And now it's about 8 o'clock at night. And I called Earl because I had his phone number. You know, there was no cell phones. I called him on a landline. I said, hey, Earl, I found your dogs. And you know what he said? Well, what in the hell are they doing out there? You know, out by Mount Rainier. It's a true story. They go, no, man, it's in the Seattle Times. Get the newspaper and look in there. And sure enough, the next day when I got to work, I was the hero of all heroes. And we were instantly best friends. I found Earl's wife's dogs from all the way out at Mount Rainier. What in the hell are they doing out there? Yeah, so you can only imagine being a little boy. See, we just would walk down this hill right here to go to the Seattle World's Fair, a worldwide event, or a worldwide famous event. Everybody knew about the Seattle World's Fair, you know, because the World's Fair was always famous no matter where it was. And I was lucky enough to live right up the street from the Seattle World's Fair, and I got to go to it over and over and over again. Well, maybe I'll just keep this going for a little bit and go down to the Seattle waterfront. I know if I put this video on pause, it'll probably end and I won't be able to. Because, you know, I used to do a lot of video editing, but I'm tired of doing that stuff. I don't have the proper setup. I have some videos. It's a long story. I used to be really good at it, but today it's a long story. So the kind of videos I make these days are unedited videos. And if I hit pause on this video, I probably won't be able to start it again. It'll probably end. But anyway, yeah, that's Seattle, Washington. Tiny bit of Seattle, Washington. There's so much more. And that's an order. She told him, go get it. He had a little man bun. Jeez, that's another... Oh, boy. Yeah, it's amazing, man. Seattle's an amazing city, but just like the whole entire country, it's kind of on its way out. I don't know. I mean, how much farther could you take anything in America? Seriously. I mean, what will this look like in even 100 years? Oh my God, man. There was oh jeez. Some people, man, they just took a little bit too much and never came back. That poor guy. I mean, obviously and certainly this won't exist 1,000 years from now. Nothing in America or the entire world won't still be here. This will be. But I mean, what I'm getting at is, imagine if this somehow could survive another 1,000 years, which it can't and won't. I mean, what could it possibly be? What would it be? It won't be. There's not going to be any resources 1,000 years from now. And even if there was, there'd be too many people. It's another thing people don't understand either, you know, the things that people dig up these days and call ancient history, it's not. I mean, take the redwood trees, for example. What, they say those things are what, like 2,000 years old or whatever? Well, where's the trees from before that? That's only 2,000 years. That's almost nothing. Where's the trees from before 2,000 years? And the reason I said that is because, you know, they think things like the pyramids or the Great Pyramid is ancient history. But it's not, because the only reason those things are still there is because they're made out of the same thing that the planet itself is made out of, which of course is solid rock. But anything, and I mean absolutely anything, that was made out of steel from 4,500 years ago, there wouldn't be the slightest remains of anything made out of metal. If it was 4,500 years old, it would be completely gone. People think they didn't have steel back then, but they actually did. That Tutankhamun guy, when they took his mummy, they opened up his mummy, he actually had a dagger made out of the finest steel. They analyzed it microscopically and chemically or whatever. And it's unexplainable because it's made from the finest steel that you can even manufacture today. And the only reason it still existed is because it was in a sheath wrapped up in a mummy. And, you know, archaeologists and scientists can't explain it because all of those people claim, you know, if one, they don't know how the pyramids were built, and they claim that the people who built the pyramids and just that type of ancient history, they didn't have high-tech tools, when the real truth is they actually did, and that dagger proves it, because it was made from the finest steel available. So what I mean is, in 1,000 years from now, well, none of this will remain. If this car sat out in the middle of a field for 1,000 years. The only thing that might possibly still remain are the tires, and probably not even that. So anyway, here we are. We're going to go down on the very last road, the Seattle waterfront. Look at that girl over there running. She's like 22 years old. I don't understand why people do that. This is right where I used to work. I built a lot of this stuff. Right here at Pier 70, this used to be the main office for the Port of Seattle. I had keys to every single... the one is right over there on the left. I had keys for every one of these buildings. I had a key ring, man, with a couple hundred keys on it. I could open up any one of these gates and go out on any one of these docks. That's the building right there, the white one. We built that whole entire thing, the whole dock, everything. There's things out there. I have pictures in my computer of things that I built. It's still there, right there. I could go right out there and compare the pictures I have in my computer with things that I actually built with my own hands. Yeah. I made a little short video this morning. No, it was just a picture, I think. I was a commercial diver at one time. I did underwater welding. And I was out there in Ballard. And I found myself at this 7-Eleven store that I used to work at when I was going through commercial diver training. And I went in there and I told the guy, you know what? I used to work at this store, the graveyard shift, 45 years ago. That's how much time has gone by. And he goes, what? You still managed to make something of yourself? Because here he was working there. Anyway, yeah, I was the guy, man, who used to drive up and down this waterfront in my Port of Seattle tool truck. And I'd get a call on the radio, the ferry had ran into the dock or some other dang thing. I just went into the ferry loading zone. I'm in the wrong lane. Yeah, and they'd call me. You gotta go down there and fix that, Brad. Watch me tell these guys, I'm not going on the ferry. Hang on for a second. It's the Seattle Police. Hey, you guys, I'm not going on the ferry. Am I in the wrong lane? I just want to go straight. I'm not going on the. I'm not going on the ferry. Do I go over that line?
Go over there.
Good thing you're standing here, huh?
Thank you.
Those guys make over $100,000 a year. Those Seattle cops. That's an absolutely true story. I was on the City of Puyallup website here a few weeks back. They had police officer jobs. Starting pay, $107,000 a year. Starting pay. Same thing a while back. I was on the City of Bonnie Lake. Starting pay for police officers. The starting entry-level pay. Same thing with City of Puyallup. It said entry-level. The Bonnie Lake Police Department. Starting pay, $7,000 a month. And you get a $100,000 cop car to drive back and forth to work in. So here we are on the Seattle waterfront. Man, so many memories. All the stuff I built, fixed. See this little guardrail thing over here on the right? That little fence thing? So there used to be a guy. He was too lazy to even stand up. He would sit there on the ground with his back against that concrete railing thing. And he had a sign. Oh shit, I'm going through the tunnel. God damn it. They're going to toll my license plate. I didn't want to go through there. Matter of fact, I'm taking a left. Oh no, maybe I don't have to go through it. That guy had a sign that said, need money for dog food. So one day, I stopped and I asked him, so, what kind of beer does your dog like? The sign said, need money for dog food. I stopped and I said, so what kind of beer does your dog like? He didn't say a word. He just got this huge smile on his face. And you got to remember, he's sitting on the ground. He just got this huge smile on his face, and he stuck his hand up in the air to shake my hand. Like, you figured it out, huh? What kind of beer does my dog like? Need money for dog food. It's been so long since I've been down here, I don't even know where I'm at. Man, all those apartments up there. It'd be so incredible to live up there on the top of one of those buildings. You'll see them when I go around this corner. They got a little yard. They're 25 stories in the air, and they got a little yard looking out over the water. Oh my God, my dog's breath. I have never smelled anything like that in my life. Oh God. Oh God. So anyway, story time is over. Yeah, look at those buildings up there. You can't see the one I'm talking about with the yards. They have trees. 25 stories in the air, they got trees out in front of their apartment. Oh, there's the cruise ship. Can you believe it though? Look at how peaceful this city is. We still haven't heard anyone honk their horn. It's because people in Seattle are nice. I always tell people, imagine what America would be like. This is something it's a joke, but I mean it. Imagine if the White House, the government, the government of the United States was located in Seattle, Washington. How different the country would be. I always tell people, you know what? We ought to move the government to Seattle, Washington, and we'll have the Oval Office up there in the Space Needle. Can you believe it? I mean, look at how calm and peaceful this city is. It's the same thing with Portland. You hear all these stories on Fox News about how, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Portland is a war zone. Well, actually, they just say the same thing about Seattle. Actually, Portland, no, it's not a war zone. All that stuff that you see on the news, it's in a little tiny neighborhood in Portland. One little tiny area. I mean, you can see yourself where we're at right now in Seattle. Does this look like a war zone to you? All those Democrat-run cities, they're just complete hellholes. Yeah, take a look at what you're looking at right now on the screen. And in proper context, put that together with everything that's going on in the country right now. Yeah, look at this. This should be an example for the whole entire country. Actually, how to live and how to run a city. Because look, I don't see anything bad going on, except for that guy with a little fire on the sidewalk. Yeah, if this was the those Democrat-run cities. What do they call them? Well, they got all kind of names for them. Yeah, if this was the worst thing that you had to, if this was the worst thing in America, I'd say we'd probably be doing pretty good. Yeah, I don't see any illegal immigrants raping people or slitting their throats either. Well, we'll just let the camera run as we go back down First Avenue. You get another look at the public market area. This is Belltown. And then Pioneer Square. And then after we go by the Mariners Stadium and the Seahawks Stadium, there's a big event going on down there today. After we go by there, probably turn the camera off. I should just let the video go. Get down there by SeaTac Airport, where there's a whole another story about this area and how the place where I really grew up, the neighborhood where my dad bought our house brand new, it doesn't even exist anymore. It took 20 years to remove thousands and thousands of homes and neighborhoods so that the third runway at the airport could be built. The true neighborhood where I actually grew up until I was like 18 years old, it doesn't even exist anymore. It's not even there. You can't even go there. It doesn't exist. It's all buried under 200 and some foot of dirt. There's an airport on top of it. But that's a little town called Sunnydale. That's where I actually grew up, in Sunnydale, Washington. It's about 20 miles from here. And I'm talking about, it was this really cool little Italian neighborhood. It was a real Italian mafia neighborhood. One of my neighbors was, what was his name? Frank, I can't remember his last name. This one girl I went out with, she was a stripper. When I mentioned Frank's first and last name, she goes, oh yeah, I used to work for him. He was one of my neighbors. I literally grew up, all the Italian people lived in brick houses. And I lived in it. It was a real Italian mafia neighborhood from like the 1920s. And then, I could make a whole video about it. All these rich Italian people in this little place called Sunnydale. I think it was like a place where they all went to live in the summertime. And it's not there anymore. It's all gone. Oh, here we are. The public market's over on the right. Hey, this guy playing a piano over there. It's the Green Tortoise Hotel and the Seattle Shirt Company. Got all these happy tourists doing nothing but enjoying their lives in that terrible Democrat-run city, Seattle, Washington. Yeah, look how terrible it is. See, they left this little original brick street right here so you could remember what the whole place used to be like. That place where I told you about the kid getting run over, where he had his foot up over his head, is Des Moines Way South in Sunnydale. And there used to be a hole in the pavement out in front of our house. The blacktop was about 3 inches thick. And when you looked through that hole, there was red bricks underneath there. The whole entire road, called Des Moines Way South, it's like just this idyllic, unbelievable, this little Italian mafia town, and it had this red brick road that just went forever. And in commemoration of all the people that died in World War I, they planted oak trees on both sides for miles and miles and miles on this red brick road. And by the time they got to tearing it all out, those trees were huge. And in the summertime, when they were all in bloom, there was this red brick road, man, with those trees. It's all gone. I always wanted to go back there. The road is still there, Des Moines Way, but it's all different now. Warehouses, and I always plan on going back there and finding a hole in that pavement where you can see the red bricks underneath, because it's still there. Those red brick road is still underneath that pavement. That lady was so beautiful. She looks so unhappy though for some reason. It's okay. His wife's going, no, you're going to get me run over. Now they'll be arguing about it tonight. That guy said it was okay. Yeah, I know, but you shouldn't have done that. Well, they'll be saying it in Farsi or whatever language it is they talk. Those people from Pakistan and India, they are the nicest. I was in they're the nicest people. I was in a Indian restaurant last night called Karma. This place is so authentic, it's just unbelievable. When you go in there, man, all the guys got turbans on. It's not exactly like what you would call, put it this way, it's like right out of India. And the spices in that place are so strong that your eyes start watering the minute you walk in the door. They got, like I said, my brain is shot. I can't remember stuff. I was in there last night, man. These people were so nice to me. I love going there. They made me scan a barcode or whatever the hell that thing is with my phone and put in because they know me, and they wanted me to finally put in a review for their restaurant before I just got there. But these people, they were giving me all kind of free stuff to eat and drink. I told them, last time I was here, I took a picture of that chair. And I put it on Facebook. Told people how comfortable it was. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Oh, the memories, man. When me and CJ were down here. I think it was our first or second date. That girl's crying. Oh, God. Yeah, it was our first or second date. We stayed in the Hyatt Hotel right there. I still remember that night. Man, that guy was making his girlfriend cry. Damn it. Yeah, the J&M Cafe there on the right, that was an institution for half a century at least. All closed up now. What's wrong, lady? There's a guy. Oh, no. I don't want to even tell you what I just saw. It'll ruin the ambiance of my video. Yeah, I'll tell you this. I mean, things aren't perfect in Seattle, but it's a lot better in some places. There's another one of those goddamn Subarus in front of us. I remember when I was a kid, when Subarus first came out, there was this commercial on TV. And the guy's wife, I think she brings home their new car. And he says to her, "What is that?" And she goes, because, Japanese cars were a new thing in America at one time, back in like 1974. Prior to that, there's no such thing as Japanese car in America. And I mean none. Zero. There was a couple little Datsun pickups maybe, but there was no such thing as a Japanese car in America. None. So then the gas crisis hit. Japanese cars started getting imported into America. And there was this commercial on TV. The wife brought a new car home. And the husband says, "What's that?" And she goes, "It's a Subaru." And the husband says, "What?" "It's a Subaru." And that became a slogan. It's a Subaru. Now they're everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere. There's one right there. I used to work for a Subaru dealer right down the road here. One of the first things I did today when I came down here was see if it was still there. It's gone. It's called Tiki Motors. They sold used Subarus. I had a feeling they wouldn't last. Tiki Motors. This used to be the industrial part of Seattle. Now Seattle doesn't really have industry anymore besides import-export. You know, at the port there. All the steel mills and everything are gone. All of these industrial places are steampunk restaurants and stuff like that. Uh-oh, Lungbuster. That must be a brand for marijuana. Which is another thing that's king around here. Always has been. Seattle is a marijuana city. America's a marijuana nation. Everyone smokes pot. And if you don't, that's okay. But America is the marijuana nation now. And that's a good thing. If your kids get hooked on marijuana, you better be happy. Because that'll keep them from doing other stuff. You know, because they claim if you start smoking heroin or start smoking marijuana, you're going to be a heroin addict next week. Well, that's untrue. Matter of fact, I know a couple heroin addicts. They both said the same thing. I don't like the way they don't smoke pot; they do heroin. And they said about marijuana, well, I don't like the way that makes me feel. Really, you're a heroin addict, and you're worried about the way marijuana makes you feel. It's like, okay. See, there's a cannabis store right there. Okay, you're a heroin addict. You don't like the way marijuana makes you feel, huh? Yeah, so if your kid gets hooked on weed, believe me, it could be worse. It could be an alcoholic. Well, let me figure this out here in 1 second. Trying to avoid getting a toll. I don't want to go on a road that has a toll. That's another thing about Seattle. There's only a couple, you know, unlike places like Pennsylvania or Massachusetts or something where every goddamn road you go on's got a toll. Now listen how quiet it is here. Well, the noise is from that truck in front of us, and even it's quiet. Well, lady, what do you think, man? Should we turn the camera off now? What do you think? Say rough. Say okay. Okay. Can you say uh-huh? You know how to say uh-huh. I know that. Say uh-huh. We'll turn it off. enjoyed our little tour of Seattle and all my stupid stories. Because what is that? 2 hours and 5 minutes long? If we watched all of that, I really appreciate it. We'll see you later. Well, someone did finally honk their horn at me, and they're right behind me now in a Subaru. This is where, this is Sunnydale, Washington. The entire neighborhood I grew up in is buried under that pile of dirt you see in front of us. Thousands and thousands of homes were removed. A miles and miles long stretch. Watch me yell at this guy. Fuck you, man. Yeah, that's, I don't give a shit now, man. I do what I want to do. You can all kiss my ass. This is Des Moines Way. That street I told you about. It's all red brick underneath this pavement. Yep. It's all still under there, too. We'll go up here to Sunnydale Elementary. There used to be this really cool adobe house with red brick, red tile roof right there on the corner. This was all homes along this road. Everything on the right-hand side is gone. They didn't tear the school down. Oh my God, no, it's still there. I see it. Yeah, I still have my, I have my diploma from Sunnydale Kindergarten. I always show people, you want to see my credentials? I show them my diploma from Sunnydale Kindergarten. Yeah, and it came from this building right here. I actually went to kindergarten twice. It was in that building. I think about halfway through, they found out I was the wrong age or something, and they made me go again. That used to be the main highway right there across the street. Came down to a four-way stop right here. It is all gone today. Yeah, this was a red brick road. Some of those oak trees are still here. They were lined up. There's a plaque back there with names of all the people from around here that died in World War I. This was the most idyllic neighborhood you ever saw in your life, man. It's all completely and totally gone. Yeah, this is the street right here where I grew up. This went all the way up to 16th Avenue. Those gates right there, the road just continued on. It's gone. Just like I keep saying, there was thousands of homes. Literally thousands of homes. They are all gone today. See right there, it says Des Moines Memorial Drive. Yeah, when you were a little kid, when I was a little kid, people didn't lock the doors on their houses. They left the keys in their cars. And you could walk around here anywhere, completely and totally safe when you were a kid. Oh, that guy's name was Frank Calicurcio. He lived right up the street behind us here. He was a known mafia member. He owned all the strip clubs in the Seattle area. And this was a real little mafia neighborhood. They all had these amazing homes. We'll just go down here. This is Des Moines Memorial Drive. And I mean from 128th Street back there behind us all the way down to 200th Street. So what is that, like almost 75 blocks? This was on the left-hand side, this was nothing but neighborhoods. Look, I keep saying this over and over again. There was thousands and thousands of houses. They started removing. The first time they tore the houses down. No, the first time they moved the houses. The house that I grew up in was only 11 years old. My dad bought it in 1959. And 11 years later, they jacked it up off the foundation and moved it somewhere. The second time, the second phase, they tore the houses down. There was a lot of really smart people. They bought their house back from after the airport bought it. They bought it back from the airport, jacked it up, and moved it down here on the left-hand side. And the airport bought them again from the same people. They bought land and moved their house only a few miles away, and then sold the same house back to the airport again during the second expansion of the airport. But at one time, man, back in the 1920s and 30s, you know, if you lived down in Seattle, this is where you came to vacation in the summertime. You had a summer home up here. But now, of course, it's all a ghetto. And it is a ghetto. I have hundreds of stories to tell about this area. But I'm just worn out from telling stories. I don't even care anymore. Because there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's all over with.